Hey, how's it going? Jason here, and in this episode we're going to be working on this Eugenia I have right here. So part of rebuilding my collection is going to be this Eugenia right here, and actually I've had this for about 4 years now. Originally it was just a stump, which I'll show you closer later. It was just a stump up here. You can see that there's a big cut right there, but it was a stump, and in the last 3 to 4 years I've gotten all this growth from just the stump. It was completely scaled back. And now I've got branches everywhere. I've got a nice apex forming, which is actually starting to give me some nice taper up there. So today what we're going to do is we're going to try to see if we can find some general branches to start with and start turning this into a bonsai. All right, so I moved this a little bit closer so you guys can see a little bit. It's in a 15-gallon can right now. It's a pretty big can. It's pretty heavy. And usually I cut off this lip right here so we can see the Nabari a little bit better. But in this case, I kind of need this to lift it, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that on there. But as you can see, it's pretty decent. So in there is about at least a, 3.5, 4 inch diameter Nabari right there. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my front, as we always do. So I've got decent Nabari right there. If I rotate it, it gets a little skinnier right there. The root base gets a little skinnier, and then right around here I start to lose the movement. There actually is some nice movement in the trunk. That's right around here. It's very slight. Right in there, if you can see that. Kind of goes this way and comes off and then shoots back this way. It's not a ton of movement, but it's enough to work with. And over here, you can see over here you're not seeing any movement. And then of course on the opposite side, you go see a little bit more movement there. Right, you got a little bit of a turn right here. So basically what we're deciding on is whether or not this one's gonna be the front or this side is gonna be the front. So the reason that I don't like this side is that the trunk starts to go out toward you and then it leans backwards. And I actually like the trees to lean forward in the pot. So I'm actually preferring the other side right now. And if that's the case, I'm gonna get rid of this one right here. It's like a sucker branch on the bottom. The reason I got rid of that one is just so you have a better view of it. Okay, so you kind of see it's similar on that side. And I'm gonna tell you what happened, what I did here 3 years ago, is this tree originally had 2 trunks that were going up like this. Since I can't really bend, a 2-inch, 3-inch diameter brittle trunk on the Eugenia, what you can do is you can cut it short to grow branches like this one right here. So essentially when you do a big cut on the trunk right here, you're going to promote branches to come out of that spot. And that's exactly what happened. In the last 3.5, 4 years, I got this branch to grow, I got another one behind it that's coming out, and I got many coming on the other side as well. When I start to trim this down, you'll be able to see it clearer, sort of what I had in mind 3.5, 4 years ago, and this is kind of what's come out of it now, which is actually a nice base to start. So now at this point, I'm going to use the branches I have to start setting a structure, get rid of ones I don't want, and we're going to see if we can turn this into something. The intention originally was to get a branch here on the side as my first branch. And what I did was I let one branch, like this one right here, grow all the way out. So it's all the way out here now, and it's thickened up proportionally really well. So I can use that as my first branch. So what I can do now is start to trim this back. And I'm using the branch cutter just because I've got some branches in here that are thicker than others, and I really don't want to damage my shears. Okay, so on this spot right here, I've got one branch that's coming off the front that's kind of coming too much off of the front. I've got a branch behind it that looks really good, so I'm gonna cut this one off right there. I'm gonna trim this up a little bit. Okay. Now you gotta remember that these branches are really brittle. I've got crossing one in the front, so I'll just continue going down. Now be careful you don't burn this one. You gotta make sure you don't tear that off the trunk. Got going at the back here. Now I'm going to shorten and save the lower ones. So my front's over here. My front's still there. I've got this branch that's already starting to develop pretty nicely. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue. Now this part is a little thick, so I'm going to cut that back a little bit. Right here is, I've got a branch going across the front, but unfortunately I don't have a branch over here that I can use to fill in this spot. So in order for the tree to look fuller, I might have to save one of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this back a little bit, cut the ones going down. Be careful not to cut everything off. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting the ones going down on the bottom side of the branch, like that. And then the ones that are going too far upwards, I'm shortening those. And then if they're too long, I'll just cut them back. I haven't applied any wire yet. Right now, all I'm doing is just the clip and grow. The ones going up, I'll get rid of some of these. If they're really coming far away, I can get rid of some of them. Right now, it's covering the front, but we're going to use it for now just because we don't have a choice. Okay, so you can start to see this look a little bit better right here. Okay, I've got a nice branch right here. That's actually the weight of it is already bringing it down. So I'll get rid of the ones going down. Sometimes just doing this, getting rid of the ones going down is what's going to make your tree look really good. And the reason I know that this is where I'm going to cut it back is just because of the general triangles that I see. I've got some young ones here that I really need to save because I want to bring some branches down here in this empty spot right here. So I'm just going to let these grow freely and be careful with them. And now you can see the scale of it, right? Turn it sideways. So now you can see this one's coming out really far, so I can get my branch cutter and cut that back. Looking a little bit better. Right there. Okay, so I'm going to grab a piece of guy wire right here, bring this down right there. So I brought that down a little bit. Now we're starting to work up the tree. We're getting somewhere. Front's looking pretty good right here. Got this filled out. This is kind of a fake first layer, but it's not that bad. I mean, if I have no choice, I'll save it like that. So you can tell I'm working on alternate branches. I'm doing this side, and I jump over here, try to bounce it out. Then I do over here, try to bounce it out. Then I come back to the other side to bounce it out. So I'm just kind of going left, right, left, right. So on this side, I've got another one I'm going to bring down just like that with guy wire. So we'll do that one really quick. So you'll notice as I'm working on this, most of it's actually just with the clip and grow technique. And that's a very effective way to use with broadleaf trees. You know, once you start to get that shape, once you get the structure set or you have your primary branches, all you have to do is use your shears just to cut it back into that shape that you want it and just maintain it that way. The harder part, which I'll explain at the end, once I have this all trimmed up, is sort of developing those branches, how to develop those branches so that you can do what we're doing today. So right around here, I've got this parallel branch that I've got to get rid of. So that one's gone. That was conflicting with that one, so that one's solved. And then at the back, I've actually got two apexes. I've got this one, which is the one I'm going to go with, and I've got an entire back one that I don't want any of it, so that one's gone. What that's going to do is let in light from this side, so I can develop some more branches on the back here, right at the top of this thing, right here at the top of the tree, and fill in this area right here where the initial cut was made. All right, so I like where the branches are. I'm going to apply a little bit of wire, just a few branches, a little wire to a few branches just to get them exactly where I want it. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with how it looks. I finished the trimming. I've finished putting on the few pieces of wire that I want to put on. I'll rotate it to you guys. So basically what I did was I chose my first branch and then started to develop a second branch over here. I've just got to let this one grow. It's really thin right now, but I've got, hopefully the light will hit that. And I'll just continue to grow and thicken up. I've got that one, then I got my back branch over here. And then after that, I just alternated left and right. And then here is the apex. Eventually I want to cut off this thicker part right here as this develops so you don't see this big nub right here. I really dislike that. And then I kept a front branch that's crossing the front a little bit. And that's just because if I cut this off, there's just nothing in this front area. So the straight part of the trunk right here is kind of ugly on this one right there. So I'm using this to cover that up, also to make it fill in, look a little bit more full in the center. This tree is borderline a double trunk tree. I've got two trunks right here, but really I'm using this trunk right here to fill in the first branch. This one was created to fill in the first branch. Originally the trunk, which was cut right here, was about the same height as this trunk over here, so they're equal. So what I did was I cut that one back, and that's how all these branches came out, all these low ones right here. This was just the stump. So all these right here grew in the last 3 to 4 years. So those developed so that I could create this pad layer right here. So I think the takeaway from this tree is, how are you able to actually get to style something like this? What you've got to do is you've got to find an older tree. This one was already pretty old when I got it. And then you'll have to do a trunk chop. Once you do the trunk chop, you'll just need to set it aside. Then I know when I've got all those branches everywhere, and I know that those branches are still young enough to be flexible to bend. See, these ones are pretty thick, but they're still flexible enough to bend down with a guy wire. Once you know that you get to that point, that's the time to work on it. That's the time to set it on the workbench. Bring those branches down while you can without them being too brittle and too tough, and then use some wire on the small ones just to set the structure. And then after that, once you have the foundation, just go ahead and prune back regularly as this thing grows. We got really warm weather a little bit early, so all this came out really quick, and it's going to continue to grow through spring. You know, the goal for this tree is to get this section nice and dense. I've got a lot of weak looking branches here that I just want to cover up so that all you're seeing is the thickness of the trunk right here, and it looks like a very old tree with thick trunk and then nice foliage. And then care for these Eugenias or Dwarf Brush Cherries is just normal broadleaf. You know, it's an evergreen broadleaf. It's going to have leaves on it year round. Just make sure it gets nice full sunlight. You're going to have to water a little bit more heavy in the summers when it starts to get hot. Fertilize spring through the fall, your normal sort of care. And then this thing will continue to grow, and all you have to do is prune it back. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Give me a like if you thought it was helpful. Otherwise, as always, thanks for watching.